Jaws are pretty much tied for #1 for being the most well-known killer animal movie. But there is a movie that predates both of those films by a wide margin and is highly regarded as the grandfather of all killer animal movies. A movie that taught us that when looking for killer animals, always look up and look out. And I, of course, am talking about Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, which was released in theaters March 28, 1963, and proceeded to make all of us a little bit more suspicious of our feathered friends. And this movie is rather special because it doesn't just focus on one animal being a killer or even simply a couple of them. No, it focuses on an entire classification of animals being rather angry with us. Yes, it engages the premise of every single bird on the planet hating us all at once. That premise is absolutely terrifying and the stuff of nightmares, and this movie delivers perfectly well on that. Every bird on the planet wanting us dead. Let's put that into a bit of perspective. Though it's rather impossible to count every single bird on the planet, there is an estimation of anywhere between 50 billion and 430 billion birds currently on the planet. That's an awful lot of things to want you dead. That's a menacing notion, and for those of you out there who don't understand how birds can be scary, well, all I can say is that you clearly never tried to feed seagulls on the beach, because that can go south real quick. Oh, they're everywhere! This film is adapted from a story of the same name by novelist Daphne Sticklebats. I'll let this guy say it.
Daphne du Maurier.
Daphne du Maurier, of course. Thanks. And this story is highly regarded as one of the greatest pieces of horror fiction. Fiction, or is it? No, don't be silly. Of course it is. But for some reason, this concept really hits home for a lot of people. And the premise, for some reason, is very believable, making the story even more scary. Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds is just one of those movies that you certainly remember. And the VHS landscape would remember it as well. And it should come to a surprise to absolutely no one that this movie was released on VHS like a billion times. Okay, maybe more like 4 times. This was a Universal Pictures production, and they had their talons all over this one as they flocked to release it on VHS. They would first release it in 1985 under their MCA Home Video moniker. They would release it again in 1991 as MCA Universal Home Video, and then they would release it again in 1995 as part of an Alfred Hitchcock collection. And then they would release it one final time as part of another Alfred Hitchcock collection in 1999. And all of these distributions are very easy to find today, even the first distribution. So, The Birds was a very successful movie, and it continues to be. And that being the case, of course, there would be a completely unnecessary sequel released many years after. And that is what we got with The Birds 2. Land's End. And to add insult to injury, this was a made-for-TV movie, which doesn't always mean bad, but in this case it does. This first aired on March 14th, 1994, and just made everybody angry. Universally panned as being horrible, poorly acted crap that has no point whatsoever. It's a sequel that absolutely does not need to exist and that nobody asked for. And speaking of stuff that nobody asked for, this will be released on VHS in 1994 by MCA Universal Home Video. I'm sure they're proud of that one, and it would be released again in 1997 by Good Times Home Video. Are these rare? Do they go for a lot of money today? No. Yeah, there's certainly nothing to crow about. Oh, man, yeah. They had a lot of gall releasing this movie.
Watch the full episode here, as well as other classic Captain Adams VHS pirate ship adventures. And please hit subscribe.